Hello and welcome to another episode of People-Led Show by Infido. My name is Pawan Rochwani and I'm interviewing CHROs and people leaders from Southeast Asia in this series. And today I have the opportunity and the privilege to interview a CHRO who is not only about people, but also about analytics and data and newer technologies. And I am so glad that we had this conversation with me, who is the CHRO of MDI Novare Technologies from Philippines. And we talk a lot about newer AI and automation trends, and not only just about people-centric leadership, but also about how technology does elevate the entire HR function. She has a career of more than 2 decades across the tech industry, and I think she personally is passionate about innovation and deep understanding of people analytics and how she can implement technology within the HR department itself. I had a very fun time doing this conversation. I hope you all also enjoy this conversation. Please feel free to suggest us if you have any suggestions or recommendations of people that we should host on this show. And if you need to know anything about Infido in general or about this series, please feel free to just drop us a comment or an email, and we'll be happy to talk to you. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. This was pre recorded in the month of January. So some of the context or topics might be relevant to that period and not when you're watching this. So hope you enjoy it. Superb. Thank you so much, May, for doing this. And I'm glad we are recording this conversation and hosting you on the show today. I'm really, really thrilled to have you with us on the show.
Thanks, Pawan, for inviting me. I'm truly honored to be part of this show. Looking forward.
Super. May I ask all my guests one question before we get into the recording, which is what do you do outside of work? And who is me outside of work? What are you doing when you're not working? Because we just don't want to know about the work side of your life, but also just to get to know you better.
Pawan, our work is really a lot of mental. It requires a lot of mental work, and you're confined in a building for like 10 hours a day. So outside work, I really want to spend lots of time outdoors and with nature where I can be mindfully present and feel the sun, the wind, the ground underneath me. So I really like to immerse myself something more physical outside work.
Yeah, yeah. Even in fact, I have to also sometimes force myself that go out there and like just be with the nature, or get outside the screen or the desk that you are, because that becomes very important even for work. Um, so thanks for answering that, me. And to get into this entire conversation, right? I want to start with what are, let's say, your top two challenges that you face as a CHRO? Like, what is something that um, is like the top two priorities that you're trying to solve in this year?
Okay, so there are a lot of challenges, but I think the top two that comes to mind would be creating that signature employee experience for our people. And to get to create that employee experience, we really have to be able to effectively define what that signature employee experience means, right? Because our organization is very varied, it's diverse between different career levels and various teams. And it's important for me and my HR team that we can actually capture the hearts of our people. And we
Mm.
know also for a fact that we cannot delight everyone, right? So I guess the key here is to actively listen and listen very well to what our people are saying, to what matters most to them. I think that's very key. Another challenge I constantly face as a CHRO is managing the balance between business needs and employee needs, right?
Mm.
Being able to champion our employee causes and preferences does not mean these align or fit our business needs right now. For
Yeah.
example, Pawan, I'm sure you know about this, and people have been, incessantly talking about this. It's the hybrid work setup.
Yeah.
That's the topmost preference of our employees. While we do support that in principle, what happens is that when the clients we serve mandate a return to work. So how
Yeah,
does it? So HR heads need to be able to strike that balance of business and employee needs.
got it. So actively listening and also balancing business and employee goals and happiness. I think yes, every CHRO out there is trying to solve for this, and I'm glad that we have addressed this in the beginning itself. Um, what is that one thing that other organizations from Philippines or across the globe can learn from Novar's people culture? What do you think is unique about the culture that you're building that other organizations can learn about?
You know what, Pawan? MDA Novare, we pride ourselves for having a high innovation and continuous learning culture. We have a thrust to build an ecosystem of world-class Filipino talents, right? We pride ourselves about being world-class, best in class. So we embody that continuous improvement and collaboration as our basic standard of working. Our culture also speaks of what matters most to us. So we have all those guiding principles, our core values, integrity, grit, respect, innovation, and excellence. So this is how we actually work with one another, with our
Mm,
clients, stakeholders, and the communities around us.
got it, got it. And um, like I've known quite my friends also who live in the Philippines, and they look up to MDA and Novare as like the technology champion in Philippines.
Well, thank you so much.
Uh, and I'm sure you folks have set like a benchmark of excellence. Could you like share any insights about your role and the impact of building this culture that has led to the business excellence as well and the excellence of the workplace that you have built?
That's right. You know what, Pawan? Like I mentioned, excellence is part of our six core values, our guiding principles in MDI Novare. So what we do is we embed it in our systems, processes, and our daily team interactions. Actually, good question, Pawan, because this year, 2024, one of our focus areas would be to refine our processes, ensuring that there's alignment with our core values in driving operational excellence. The
Hmm.
organization has grown so much at the speed we are challenged with so far, Pawan. It's very difficult. And I
Yeah.
think it's also high time that we revisit our internal processes that serve our purpose in achieving excellence. So it's really a collaborative effort, not only with our compliance teams, but from every member of our organization. But Pawan, I'm sure you know this, driving excellence may also mean incidents of failures, of incidents of falling through the cracks, but
Hmm.
we say that is also okay, right? Because that means we learn from these failures, we rise to the level of excellence that only past experience can best teach us.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure like um, running a technology first company is you have to put your people at the core of it. um, how do you perceive your role as how do you see your role evolving as the CHRO? Because um, like talent is the key driver of the transformation, right? Like, and so in what way strategically you have integrated people agenda with business agendas is what I would want to like learn from your experience.
I'm glad, Pawan, that you mentioned that talent is at the center of any transformation agenda. Because our thrust here, our mantra, our battle cry in MDI Novare is that our talent transforms technology. So
Yeah.
we believe that talent transforms technology. So the evolving role of the CHRO is really centered on crafting that effective talent strategy amidst the dynamic changing landscape on which Emiliano operates in, right? We are an IT industry and the pace of change is so fast. And our talents need to adapt and understand the impact of that change in their own individual work. So to
Mm,
mitigate change fatigue and still enable high productivity and engagement among our teams, developing that effective talent strategy and that agile talent strategy to these changes will spell out any success for any HR leader. So just to summarize it, the CHRO really now becomes at the front and center of any transformation agenda, because it is really indeed our people and teams that are at the forefront of the end transformation journey.
Yeah. I'm glad we brought in the word agile because I've also observed here in India when technology startups they have to be agile, they have to be very adaptive in nature with their business, with the mindset and the culture also that they're building.
Mhm.
Because in a fast-paced tech industry, agility is crucial. So how does the HR function really incorporate these practices to quickly respond to changing business needs, and also like support agile development within the organization? Is there something in particular that you do to make your team ready for any of these changes?
That's right, Pawan. So we advocate agile methodology versus the waterfall methodology, right? And we need to drink our own Kool-Aid, right? So we have to practice what we preach. So having said that, our HR programs and processes are never really static. They
Hmm.
are always based on business needs and employees' voices. So that it's really important for our HR team to be relevant and impactful. Hence, we revisit our policies and programs such that we are nimble to respond to organizational needs, like what you said, right?
Yeah.
Maybe one example is when we cascade our talent management programs, wherein we really have to tweak the tempo or we differ our style depending on the audience profile or the role profile or any other nuances that we have to consider to
Mhm.
customize or act in an agile way. So, Pawan, we have a saying here in HR, we should never fall in love with our standard templates, right?
Mhm.
Because we really have to be nimble and agile to address all those organizational needs.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember we were talking just few minutes back about adapting to if the client is coming to office, and if we are remote or hybrid, we have to adapt to that. And I'm sure there are many other policies that you would have set in motion for employee well-being. Um, and I'm sure employee well-being is very subjective to different organization, the industries that they are in, so it is challenging in some way or other. So what are some initiatives or policies that you have implemented for a healthy work-life balance, or a to support the well-being of employees in your organization?
You know what, Pawan? We are cognizant of the challenges in operating in a post-pandemic world. I mean, the world has changed when we gone out of our remote workplaces, right? 2 years after. Hence, we have introduced a hybrid work setup that's in place. We are
Mm.
also implementing a lot of mental health programs for the workplace via coaching, counseling sessions. We even had to employ a mental health professional just to be able to address those needs of our employees.
Mm.
Physical exercise is also key for us, so that when you engage in the sports, you release those happy hormones, right, so to speak. So we have all those sports employee resource groups that's all in place. Our LGBTQ clubs, our motorcycle clubs, and the like. We have all those things in place so that our employees feel supported and valued in our organization.
Wow. If I was there, I would have definitely enrolled for the motorcycle club.
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm glad that there's something like this. Um,
Yep.
and any specific measures that you take to um, embrace equality, or like diversity and inclusion, especially regarding women? Because um, I have observed in India, I'm not commenting about Philippines, but I've observed that the male to female ratio in a very tech specific company is not like how you would aim for. So anything that you have improved in the processes or implemented in the processes to maintain equality?
I'm glad you mentioned that because we do not see this inequality, especially regarding women, as an issue in the organization at all. Our co founder and chair is a woman, and there are two women who sit in our C suite executive committee today, me included. So when it comes to our processes and programs in the organization, we are very conscious about removing biases when it comes to hiring and screening women. We
Hmm.
also promote women based on their performance and capacity and skills. We give equal career progression to the women in MDI Novare. So I think that's pretty much in place in our
Hmm.
organization.
Got it. Super. Um, I have my two most important questions. One is about employee experience and feedback in general, and the second one is about Gen AI. To begin with the first one, I wanted to understand, how do you gather and act upon employee feedback? Because it's very important to show the action on your feedback for building the trust with their employees, and also for continuous improvement in HR policies, processes, and the overall employee experience that anybody would feel at any organization. So, but especially within the tech and IT industry, what are certain processes that you follow that have helped you get better at employee feedback and employee experience in general?
Yeah. Today we are 1,000 strong headcount in MDI Novare. And to be able to hear from these people and we value their feedback, we have a quarterly employee pulse survey to be able to identify what are those pain points that our employees experience, even their suggestions, right? We are very open to
Yeah.
suggestions, recommendations in making our workplace a great place. So we do that quarterly. And once we get the results of that survey, we really act on it.
Mm.
So we have a science in making sure that these feedback are really categorized in the relevant buckets, and
Mm.
we assign an intervention, even an executive sponsor, to make sure those things move right, that they are launched, that they are implemented, and we review it and we say, oh, the interventions we made are actually effective, and if we don't, we pivot. So that's how active we are. And then on top of that survey mechanism, we also enable our managers, our line managers, our people managers to always do touch points with their one downs and to ensure alignment on goals and check if the employee is still engaged and happy with the company. So those things go hand in hand to make sure that we hear our people and we act on what they say and what matters most to them.
Yeah, yeah. I think that um, feeling that employees should feel heard is really really important in any organization. So that's definitely great out there. And this is something that I recently saw on your LinkedIn, that you are actively implementing AI technologies in your HR function within the culture itself. Um, of course, it should be there in the DNA because you are a technology company. But
Yes.
what kind of automations or other Gen AI technologies have you implemented within the HR function or in general for employee development? Would love to hear about that.
So you're right about that, Pawan. Being in a tech company, we have also motions around assessing available Gen I tools. There are co-pilots with our tech partners such as Microsoft and Salesforce and the like. But we are also assessing, right, motions around developing our own use cases as well. We have an R&D team. We are very strong on innovation. We see an opportunity around using Gen AI example and sifting through many resumes and profiles for hiring, using predictive tools and identifying attrition risks, and an integrated automated tool that maps employee performance, maybe vis-a-vis drivers such as training and coaching, right? So it's still a lot of developmental work as of now. We are investigating, exploring, and it's good that you mentioned this because we just launched our AI Novate program. So that's where we really change the mindset of our people and just really collaborate on what kind of, what does it mean for us when this Gen AI is really up right here on in
Yeah.
front of our faces, right? So
Yeah.
yes,
That's great actually. I have met quite a few um, CHROs from Philippines, Indonesia, Singapore, and I can tell this that you are probably at the forefront of really implementing Gen AI within the processes itself. Of course, everybody is trying to, use it within the tech side of working, but
Right.
not at a very org level. So I'm glad to see I'm speaking to somebody who's at the forefront of this.
Yeah,
Uh,
maybe when we talk a month from now, I'll be able to share more about that.
yeah, yeah. My last few set of questions, and this is more from a very maybe futuristic purpose or just in general, how do you feel about a great HR leader? Um, what are some trends that you are anticipating within the HR function for the tech and IT industry? Is there, of course, we talked about Gen AI, so that will definitely be there. But any, are you aligning your HR strategy with these future trends to stay ahead of the curve?
You know what? I see that careers and jobs will start or continue to be redefined in the dynamic hybrid work setup and Gen AI era, right?
Mm.
I think this will put pressure on a lot of organizations to take a hard look at their workforce planning and how to attract and retain and reward their key talents. So again, we are grounded on our high innovation and continuous learning culture to
Yeah.
ensure that we stay ahead of the curve. So right now, as we speak, we are revisiting our career models and make sure that they are relevant to deliver our commitments. And
Yeah,
we pivot as necessary.
got it. Okay. Um, and what do you think are like two traits that make a great HR leader? And this also is with respect to, let's say, the coming years, that you see how the function of HR or the responsibilities of a HR might like evolve in the coming years. Because it's not just about people function, but it's also about how you align business goals with it, business changes with it. So, what do you think are like the top two traits that make a great HR leader?
Um, I think first one is there are multiple hats that an HR leader wears all the time, right? It can be the change catalyst hat, a business operator hat, a trusted advisor, a coach, a friend, a strict boss, an emergency responder. So multiple hats, right?
Hmm.
I think the hats that CHRO wears every single day can be very demanding and daunting. And
Yeah.
as a great HR leader, I may say is that one HR leader who has the ability to wear these multiple hats and the agility to shift from one hat to another as the situation calls for it, right? These shifts can happen in a 5-minute encounter with a boss, with a colleague, a board of director, a staff, what have you, right? So I think that's very important to be personally effective. And one to be personally effective, it's really shifting from one hat to another.
Yeah. Yeah.
The second trait that the CHRO should possess, or I believe is a great trait, is authenticity.
Hmm.
To be able to show times of vulnerability and humanness is a strong trait that makes a great HR leader relatable at the same time, inspirational and aspirational. So I try to be authentic, and I think I'm getting there. So thanks for that question, Pawan.
Got it. And may my last question, and this is, I will again how we started on, let's say a little light note. I also want to end this on a light note. What, as an HR leader, what is one thing that you believe in that probably other HR leaders don't believe in or don't agree with you? It could be about the processes, it could be about any of your ideologies or philosophies. But what is something that you believe in that other HR leaders don't believe in?
You know what? I gave that question a lot of thought. And to be honest, I don't have a straight answer. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's being just your authentic self. Some HR leaders are very, here, I have an answer. Some HR leaders I know are stoic,
Hmm.
very
Yeah.
stoic and
Yeah.
they're expressionless, right?
Yeah.
For me, as you see, I'm very, how do you say that? Active, expressionful. So
Yeah.
I think that trait
Yeah.
can be very effective when you manage a team, when you manage your C-suite stakeholders, when you manage your board of investors, right? Because, like what I said, authenticity is one of the great HR leader traits
Yeah.
that can be imbibed today, right? So it doesn't have to be stoic all the time. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, because we are in the people function, being authentic also just like helps, because they should be able to trust you, and, they should be able to know who you are as a person as well. So I think, I definitely imbibe that in my role as well, because, um, how you are as a person, I think nobody else can be that way, right? So I think just embrace your authenticity and the originality, and that can bring the innovation and uniqueness also. So I'm glad that you answered that and you have addressed that. um Me, I think I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and, I see this often, that when the conversation goes very smooth and nicely, you don't realize where the time has gone by. But because we had limited time for this conversation, I'm glad we were able to cover all the points, and I'm so grateful and thankful for you to be part of this. I'm sure when I'm in Philippines, I'll definitely meet you. We'll
Yes, please.
figure out something, and I'm really happy that we did this. Thank you so much for your time and for giving all these insights and thoughtful answers to us.
Thanks, Tawan. And when you visit the Philippines, we'll go to the beaches. We'll sing karaoke overnight. All right.
Yeah, I definitely more karaoke's.
Thanks so much. I wish we had more time, but thank you for this opportunity.
Super.